The author of the New York Times best-selling book, Killing England, from BillO'Reilly.com. It's Bill O'Reilly. He normally joins us on Friday, but, I don't know. He's got a golf date or something there at the house that he had maybe meet the cable guy or the plumber. So we're bowing to the king and welcoming him here on Thursday. Bill O'Reilly, how are you?
Very good, Beck. I liked your commentary. I'm going to be out of the country tomorrow.
Are you?
So
where are you going?
Frightening people abroad.
Yes.
I really liked your commentary, Beck. Which for me to tell you that is an amazing thing.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Usually, I don't dislike your commentary.
Yeah,
I
but
ignore it entirely.
Yeah, right. You just don't. You don't slum with me very often.
No.
Yeah.
But this ties into the big story of the day on BillO'Reilly.com, which is the California NAACP demanding that the Star-Spangled Banner be jettisoned as the national anthem because it's racist. That's a huge story, and it ties into what we've been talking about for the last 4 months, the revisionism of American history, which is what Killing England is the counter to that. But the NAACP, powerful organization with reach, it's not some crazy kids doing insane stuff. They're basically trying to tell the American people, this is a racist song. So our country is represented by that, and it should go. And it's a lie. It's a total lie. And now I'm starting to get really angry, Beck. Do you hear it in my voice?
I do. It's kind of subdued, but I can see you going for an AR chainsaw at any time.
Well, last time I frightened you with my indignation. I wanted to dial it back.
Yeah.
It's a morning program, so we want to be mellow. But
yeah, sure.
Come on. I mean, what we're going to do tonight on BillO'Reilly.com is going to read the whole 4 stanzas of the Star-Spangled Banner. But what they object to is a line in the 3rd stanza that says that slaves and other people who are working for the master,
the hireling and slave,
can't find any solace.
Right.
Well, that's historically accurate. That's accurate. In 1814, when that song was written, slavery was in full flower in America, and slaves were treated horribly, and if they ran away, they could be hung. And there was no Underground Railroad at the time. That developed afterward. And so the stanza is accurate. It's basically criticizing the situation. But these people have turned it around, these people being the anti-American activists, have turned it around and saying, okay, this is another example of how America's a racist country, which is what they want the world to believe. Well, Americans themselves don't believe that. But they want the world to believe it. Donald Trump's a white supremacist. America's racist toward immigrants. That's what gets me so angry and has polarized me away from the liberal, secular, progressive movement. I used to even listen to them occasionally and see if they had a point of view. I'm so polarized now. Whenever I see them, I cringe. So that's my take this morning.
So what do you think about the 5th stanza written by Oliver Wendell Holmes in 1862? Do you think that plays a role at all, where he is extolling the freedom of the slaves and all those that we died for to free? I mean, that is a clearly abolitionist stanza.
You're smarter than me. I wasn't even aware of that.
It's never printed. Just look it up, though. Oliver Wendell Holmes did it. It's a good stanza, and it reverses. It throws everything that they're saying in reverse. And it was written during the Civil War, but they never print it for some reason. But it was written by Oliver Wendell Holmes.
Well, I'm glad you pointed that out. I didn't know about it. I certainly will look it up now. But the basic premise is much bigger than the Star-Spangled Banner. And that's what I'm trying to get across to everybody, that this is a growing movement to demonize the United States of America. I mean, it's growing. When you have the NAACP of California coming out and basically lying, saying that the national anthem is racist, giving refuge to people who want to disrespect it and the flag. I mean, you got a serious situation here.
So
it's not being confronted in any meaningful way. Certainly not by the media.
So here's something that I saw. Yahoo printed a story 100 years after the Russian Revolution, what things are like in the former Soviet Union. And they were talking about how Lenin is still looming over the Russians, that the statues of Lenin are still everywhere in the parks. They've been removed from the public squares, but they've been put in the parks, et cetera, and how those are becoming rallying points. And I saw that and I thought, I wonder if the left has learned the lesson at all from that you must strip a country clean of all reminders. Otherwise, people will be drawn back to that.
You have, and I want to point out that in one of the articles written about the demise of the Soviet Union, 100 million people were killed from the Russian Revolution on to the collapse of the Soviet Union by the communists. 100 million people were murdered to, put this political
ideology
program into place. All right. So, you're looking at something that's totally unnatural. It's totally against human competitiveness and the drive for human beings to improve themselves. And it had to be forced on them through murder. Then you contrast it with the United States, which, as flawed a country as we are, and we are flawed, there's no doubt about it, gives so much opportunity that people are willing to travel thousands of miles to illegally sneak across the border and try to make a better life here, because they know this is pretty much their only hope. They're not trying to sneak into Portugal. So I'm saying to myself, if this isn't arrested soon, if people in leadership positions don't start to stand up soon, we are going to see what you're seeing in Russia. The reappearance of this crazy stuff that divides Americans.
Well,
and the reappearance of racism as well.
Well, we already are seeing that, and we're seeing the rise of Marxism like crazy. We had a full-fledged socialist elected in Virginia, of all places, just on Tuesday. Marxism is alive and very healthy in America.
It's designed, though, to stay away from the totalitarian aspect of it. So you don't have people going, oh, Lenin's the greatest guy and I love Stalin. You don't have that. What you have is the stealth inequality. Whenever your listeners hear the word inequality, be on guard. That's the buzzword, because that's what the socialists want. Equality. Well, I went to Cuba. I traveled there. There's no equality in Cuba. Everybody's miserable. Everybody's got a boot on their neck. That's not equality. That's oppression. And I mean, there's just a few of us. You're one of them, Beck, that are speaking out against this stuff. And the mainstream media is sugarcoating it, and in some cases promoting it as beneficial. And if you go against it, you're a racist. So by me going on BillO'Reilly.com tonight and saying, this is insane, the NAACP is lying, I'm a racist. Immediately a racist. And because that's a tactic, not to have African Americans listen to opposing points of view, because they all come from racists. It really, really drives me crazy.
Yesterday, the Trump administration announced that they're reversing some of the things with Cuba because they have a very different stance than Barack Obama did. The UN is upset, says that we need to welcome them into the family of nations, and the United States says we don't care if we're alone in this. These guys are oppressive. Does this mean anything to the people in Cuba, Bill?
Does it mean anything to the people in Cuba? It hurts them because obviously tourism brings money to the beleaguered and poor island.
Well,
most people don't know this, but tourist dollars do not flow directly to the Cuban people. Tourist dollars, that means, when you rent a hotel room or rent a car or go to a restaurant, tourist dollars go to the Cuban military. The Cuban military controls all foreign currency on the island. And by that situation, the Castro brothers, the late Fidel and now Raul, buy protection from being overthrown because the Cuban military is the aristocracy in Cuba. A lot of people don't understand that.
So when he said that you could go, Americans can still go, but you can't give it to certain hotels and state-run businesses.
You got to go by tours. You have to do a tour thing. I went on my own, although we hired a guide to take us around who was a pro-Fidel guy, because all the guides are.
Yeah.
But we mocked him. We made fun of him. And he had a pretty good sense of humor about it, I have to say. But what the point of view from the Trump administration is basically to tell the world, look, these people aren't doing anything. Raul Castro isn't doing anything to stop the oppression of the Cuban people. Still got the political prisons, still got the secret police. So why are we actually encouraging that regime? If you look at it that way, it makes sense. But, Barack Obama, his leanings were more socialist than capitalist. I think that's been established. That's the way he saw the world. And socialism is not necessarily bad. But if you go to Cuba and you actually see how oppressive the society is, I mean, these people are scared.
Kim Kardashian went, and she said she thought it was very quaint the way they kept everything in the 1950s and decided to keep all their cars from the 1950s. So she thought it was quaint.
Did she actually use the word quaint?
I don't know. I think so. And she thought it was really magical the way they kept all this stuff in the 1950s. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wish I had seen Ms. Kardashian walk the potholed streets in her big heels.
Yeah.
Very dangerous.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
You have a lot of people in the United States who just don't know anything, Beck. They don't know what communism is or socialism is. They don't know what's happening in Venezuela, and they don't care to know. And a lot of these people just form opinions based on nothing. Mm-hmm. And then they hold those opinions, and you have to listen to them. And it's becoming almost frightening. My parents, their generation went through the Depression and World War II. I got to tell you, everybody knew what the deuce was going on. Everybody knew the history of the country and what America was going through. Now that's totally dissipated. I mean, you have people that all they do all day long are the machines. They either got the handheld machine or the computer or the games or whatever they're doing. And then they have no association with reality at all. And I think Kim Kardashian may fit into that crew.
What? You are going out on a limb, and you don't know. You don't usually do that.
What's her husband's name again? What the guy, the rapper?
Oh,
what's
Kanye. Kanye.
I was in an elevator with him in Madison Square Garden. I was at a Knick game and we're leaving, and I went into the elevator and there was 6 giant guys. I'm 6'4". All right, and these guys like dwarfed me. And then I looked behind as this little guy, and it was Kanye West behind the 6 giant guys. And I didn't say anything to him. I don't think he likes me.
No? I can pretty much guarantee that, Bill. I can guarantee that. Let me start with the truth about the shooting. The truth is this guy was anti-Christian. He had an axe to grind with a member of the congregation, a family member, an in-law, but he also was truly mentally ill. This guy had been a ticking time bomb for a long time, and the Air Force knew about it. Bill, how did this fall through the cracks? How did this guy, who had a record of knowingly and wanting to kill his stepson, bash and crack his skull, and only spend a year in jail for it, and then not have that passed on to the general public or to the authorities?
Well, it seems that the Bo Bergdahl sentencing is spotlighting a tendency in our military services to grant unbelievably lenient sentences to people who transgress in the military, right? So it looks like this guy was in the Air Force and he brutally treated his wife and baby, and the Air Force didn't really do much to him. They threw him out, but they didn't really pay attention. He wasn't punished the way he should have been inside the service, and then after he left, they pretty much threw his stuff in the garbage can, so that when the background check was made, when he bought the weapons in Texas, his behavior, which would have disqualified him from buying a weapon, was not there. So that's a bureaucratic screw-up.
So
I think that the military is got to start explaining why their system of justice is so ridiculous. I mean, the Bergdahl thing was stunning, was it not?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Okay. So that's number one. And number two, you're never going to control through bureaucracy crazy people from harming individuals. You just can't. It's been done from the dawn of civilization. And you just can't do it. And now, with the ACLU leading the charge not to put mentally disturbed people in confinement. Remember, this is a far left thing. It used to be much easier in the United States to get people into observation, into institutions to be watched and evaluated. With the ACLU suing constantly since the 1980s, that's almost impossible to do now. So everybody knew in Sutherland Springs that this guy was trouble. But what could anybody, they couldn't do anything about it. And that's where we are in America today. I mean, you got crazy people walking around all the time, muttering to themselves, armed with knives, pushing people on subway tracks. And the authorities can't do anything until after the crime happens.
Let me switch gears. Let me go to the Democrats in Donna, Brazil. First of all, the Democrats had a big win, not unexpected, a big win this week, and they're flying high, or that's what everybody wants us to believe. But their numbers, their popularity is the lowest it's been in over 25 years.
Yeah.
And they're in a full-fledged civil war, and nobody in the media really wants to talk about that.
No, because the media, I would say, I'd put it at about 85% registered Democrats in the national media. Look, I've said this and said this and said this. It's about performance. The American people don't like the Democratic Party and they don't like the Republican Party. It's obvious. All the polls say that. So if the Republican Party wants to avoid Armageddon next year in the midterm elections, it's got to do something. Got to pass tax reform. Got to reevaluate Obamacare and make it easier for Americans to get good health care and not get gutted financially paying for it. Those are the two big ones right there. Tax reform, reforming Obamacare. The Republicans have got to acknowledge that if they can't do that, they're done. They're done for next year.
I just saw Art Laffer on Fox News this morning. And, Art's been, he's a go along to get along kind of guy. He has, deep opinions and he can fix the economy and he's done it before. And they asked him, so you've been instrumental in helping with the Senate bill that's going to be coming out. And you were consulted on that. I've never seen Art backpedal so fast. He was like, well, no. They asked me, but I don't think, I don't think they took a critical look at the things that I was saying. And so I would say that I was kind of on the outside, just kind of looking in at that process. I mean, I've never seen Art try to back away from a group of people like that before. So,
well, he's a Reagan guy. This tax reform and tax cuts much different than the Reagan vision was. But the key thing here for everybody to understand is, yes, if you're a working American and you make between $40,000 and $150,000 a year, you'll get a little money back. You're going to do a little bit better. But that's not what this is all about. This is about unleashing corporate America in the hope that corporate America will start to invest and expand, thereby providing millions more jobs, and the competition for jobs would rise, therefore wages would rise. That's what this is about. Not about individuals getting more money, although that will happen to a certain crew. It's about getting America into a growth mode, because for 8 years under Obama, we didn't have any growth to speak of, nothing. So that, and I say, look, stop with the small ball. You're going to phase out this, and it's that, the home mortgage, right? And look at the big picture. Give it a chance. So in 2 years, we'll know if this tax cut works. We'll know if the American economy explodes. And if it does, everybody's better off. Even the rich people, like Beck, who's going to have to pay more taxes, because if you invest your money, the stock market's going to go up and you'll make money there. And you'll make money if you buy real estate or whatever your investments may be. Give it a chance. And that's what, I'm sitting here going, you Republicans are so stupid, so rigid. I heard some guy the other day on the radio go, oh, this isn't the Reagan thing, this isn't conservatism. And I'm going, good. You're not going to get ideology to win another election. Trump won as a populist. He didn't win as a Republican conservative. So there you go.
Talking to Bill O'Reilly. Bill, do you have any insight on this Donna Brazile thing? I have a lot of difficulty taking anything she says seriously. But is this are these real scandals, or is she just trying to sell books?
No, Donna Brazile is genuinely angry that Donald Trump was elected president. And so her anger is manifested in, why were we so incompetent or we couldn't defeat him? That's what the book's about. And then she goes in and I think, tells the truth about the Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee. So I applaud Brazile. I mean, she's under unbelievable fire now. She can't go to any cocktail parties. Nobody will have lunch with her. All of that pressure because she lives in Washington. But I think essentially Donna Brazile is telling the truth.
So what is the deal with Mark Rich? Because Fox had Seth Rich. Fox had to retract a story. It was a huge scandal. Here comes Donna Brazile, and she says, I worry that the Russians had something to do with it. No, wait a minute. This has been deemed an accident. Everybody said anything other than that.
Not an accident,
a botched robbery. And everybody has deemed it that. And anyone who has said that it was anything but that has been a conspiracy theorist. Now, I happen to believe it was a botched robbery. But to hear Donna Brazile say that when she heard about that, she was afraid at first that he was killed because he was white. That says something. Two, that when she found out that it was a robbery, she worried the Russians were involved.
I hate to get into these things because I don't believe in conspiracies, generally speaking.
Yeah.
And the Rich family has made an appeal. Our son is dead. Please
leave him alone.
Inject politics into it. I can't really add much. And for me, the biggest mouth in the world.
Well, let me ask you this, because I can't add anything to it either, because I don't believe in the conspiracy on it. What you could add to it is, Where's the media calling her out, saying the same thing that they said to Fox News? Where?
Oh, come on. We all know, that the media is now descended into a place where they are, number one, essentially dishonest, and then number two, hypocritical to a degree I don't think we've ever seen in this country. So any fair-minded person, conservative, liberal, independent, has to know that.
Yeah.
All the surveys show it, all the polls show it, and it's hurting the country. I mean, dramatically.
Is this going to hurt the Democratic Party because they are going so far left? They're going to the Bernie people. She knows she doesn't have any friends left in the the middle, so she's throwing her hat in over there. But she's also bringing the conspiracy side of the fringe with her now. Is that going to?
I don't think that's going to hold. The key thing here is there are some nuts in the House that are trying to draw up impeachment articles against President Trump.
Right.
Okay? All right. Nancy Pelosi has now said, please don't do that. Even Nancy Pelosi knows that the Democratic Party will implode if it continues to embrace the loons. And it will. So Trump and the Republicans' best hope is that the media and the Democratic Party continue to be dishonest and continue to be hysterical.
So Nancy Pelosi doesn't want the Democratic Party to embrace her? Is that
does not want the Democratic Party to embrace impeachment.
Oh, well, because you said the loons, so I kind of thought you were speaking about.
Yeah, when did she move out of the loon category?
Well, she's still in the loon category, but Nancy Pelosi's an interesting study. I believe, and I'm probably in a minority, I don't think she believes a word she says. I think she represents a district in San Francisco that's crazy, crazy left, and she'll tell them anything they want to hear to maintain her power position.
I think there's a lot of people like that in Washington.
Yeah, but, she's portrayed as a zealot. I just think she wants the perks. And that's just my assessment of her.
Bill O'Reilly, thank you very much. I appreciate it. BillO'Reilly.com. Coming up today, you're going to be reading poetry.
Yeah, we're going to do the Star Spangled Banner thing on BillO'Reilly.com, and we're going to plug Killing England, of course. Yeah. And Beck, I want to tell you, it's really nice of you to have me on. And I enjoy this every week.
Thank you.
Sorry we threw your schedule off, but
no.
It's okay today.
Not a problem. And do me a favor, look into the fifth verse, because I think I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about that tonight on BillO'Reilly.com.
And I love Ralph Waldo Emerson. He's my god. I love him.
That's not who had anything to do with it. Thanks, Bill.
Okay.